This one's actually pretty tough. Out of these 6 being stuck on the same planet, which one's surviving? And the answer is really hard because technically it depends on the planet. See, in a planet with a yellow sun, Superman would be able to have his powers so he no-diffs everybody else across the board, though Scarlet Witch being able to use reality warping magic, which is his weakness, makes it to where if he doesn't go all out, then he's not actually winning. Or if it's a planet with a red sun, he wouldn't be able to do anything either. I'll say the planet was Clentar, where Null would essentially have the powers of a Celestial because of his control over symbiotes. Ruling over darkness makes it to where Superman's not able to get his powers from the sun, so he technically would be able to beat those two. And even though Odin ruled over most of Midgard with an iron fist at one point, no, not that one. Without a yellow sun, him and Sentry would be the strongest physically, though Odin still beats him. Though the question put here is who's surviving, and I think Doom's the only one smart enough to go, I'm out. So on Clantar only Null, these 3 survive wherever, depending on Scarlet's mood. So here's the thing, and do y'all remember when he gave an absolute beatdown to Thor and Hulk at the same time? Now, before I mislead you any further, here's what I mean. See, after Johnny Storm was thought to have been dead, everybody started to grieve and mourn him differently. Now, Johnny Storm didn't actually pass, instead he was trapped inside of the negative zone, being forced to fight as a gladiator and then be torn apart over and over to get rebuilt over and over. So everybody had thought that he had already died to Annihilus without knowing that he was trapped inside of the negative zone. And without knowing that he's alive or what he was actually up to, everyone near and dear to him had to come to terms with his passing. And one of the people who was hit the hardest by Johnny's passing, or so they thought, was the Thing. Ben Grimm blamed himself for the passing of Johnny and stopped acting like himself, and didn't allow himself to grieve. He just wanted to hit someone really hard, and who better to send on a wellness check for him other than Thor and Hulk, 2 of the only people able to withstand a beating from him. And redirecting that anger into his fist towards them, he was finally able to start mourning. As of now, July 25th, the Fantastic Four skins are available in Fortnite. And I 100% made this video just so that I would get to say Fantastic Four skins. Out of these 2 comic book universes, which do you guys think is more cranked up to 11 than the other one? Marvel's The Ultimate Universe or DC's Absolute Universe? Mind you, in Marvel's The Ultimate Universe, you have people such as Reed Richards or The Maker start poking and prodding at Tony Stark's brain, all with Tony Stark still conscious just so that he'll feel pain. While in the Absolute Universe, you have this 6'4" behemoth of a Batman who has no money whatsoever, going up against people such as Bane, who he barely goes up to the waist of. And while fighting this absolute giant, figures out halfway through, that wasn't even him on Venom yet. And tell me what you guys think. Out of those 2 universes, which one is more extreme? I'd personally say it's the Absolute Universe for me, simply because we have a Superman and a Wonder Woman too who are perfectly fine with putting the bad guys down for good. Though in the Ultimates, you still have Quicksilver and Wanda making out, so I'm gonna give you the breakdown real quick of one of the most dangerous things in the DC universe. That's this man right here, Barry Allen. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh, Flash is one of the good guys. What do you mean he's dangerous? Flash always tries to make sure that he's able to save all the people who are near and dear to him. Well, allow me to introduce you to this man real quick, Eobard Thawne, aka the Reverse Flash. See, Thawne is from hundreds of years in the future, and he wanted to be the Flash's sidekick, so he made sure he was able to recreate the exact experiment that went wrong and made Barry have his powers in the first place to turn him into the Flash. When he runs back to our present, however, he ends up finding out that Flash already has a sidekick and a villain who's erased from history in his future, known as Eobard Thawne. Just by existing, Barry's able to make his own worst villain, who's able to destroy the multiverse, mind you, and Thawne's petty enough to go, alright, bet, I'll be the villain, and uses his powers to hurt the people near Barry just for existing. Barry simply existing makes a multiversal threat, and uses that power to bully Barry as a toddler. Most of y'all are aware that the Flash is easily the fastest member of the Justice League by far. In spite of scenes such as this one with the turn to Flash, Flash is also, out of everybody in the Justice League, the one who has to nerf himself the most. This is what I mean. Flash thinks so much quicker than everybody else that he has to not think to be able to talk to people normally. Basically, he's able to count from 1 to 1 billion a few times in his head before he even spits out his next word. And this goes for all Flashes, a perfect example being the 1 Minute War, where some aliens invade and try and harness the Speed Force. And it takes place, you guessed it, within 1 minute. This man right here, Jay Garrick, the first Flash, a bit older in age, so not as fast as he used to be. He's still able to think at the speed the Flash should. Jay was essential for them being able to turn back the world one minute. In the same story, the second fastest person in the Justice League who also has to nerf himself, who people often think is faster than Jay Garrick, has 3 Flashes beside him having a whole talk while he tries to spit out what? So how far does Metro Man go fighting these dudes one after the other? Starting with Nolan, then Thrag, Shazam, Sentry, and finally ending on Superman. And technically he no-diffs all of them? Even though Metro Man's biggest strength feat was him picking up Skule as a toddler, he's still indestructible. Now as for Metro Man's strength, some of these people might have him beat. We're not really sure. Nolan's biggest strength feat was blowing up his own planet. Thrag's obviously stronger than Nolan, and Nolan needed Mark and Thaddeus to help him blow up the planet in the first place. Shazam and Sentry have the actual powers of gods. Yet still, with all the tasks Metro Man was able to accomplish, he would have had to have been moving in Planck time, and then below. Y'all remember Metro Man going through an entire midlife crisis before a moment even passed? The smallest unit of time able to be used, he was moving quicker than that. On top of being indestructible, that puts him on par with most speedsters who are faster than Superman. So the only way even Superman wins is if he's staying in the sun for 100,000 years beforehand. Unless it's Superman 1,000,000 who's a god, Metro Man wins this. Do y'all remember when Wolverine made a teenager drink his first beer right before putting him down? Those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm talking about the Ultimate Universe, more specifically the Ultimate X-Men. And in the Ultimate X-Men, there was this mutant who awakened his powers to realize that everybody around him would die. So Wolverine was being tasked with most of the dirty work at this point. And one of those dirty jobs was realizing for the X-Men that if word got out that there was a mutant who just made people around them die, then humanity would probably hate the mutants more than they already do. So he made sure word never did get out that a mutant was able to do that. And in that same universe, Magneto decides to nuke all of humanity because his kids who he thought were dead were busy making out. On top of that, Xavier's death and the destruction of Genosha, mutants were not able to get a break here. Recently, I did a video asking which of these universes was more unhinged, the DC Absolute Universe or the Marvel's Ultimate Universe. And I was astonished to see that only one person said that the Marvel's Ultimate Universe was more unhinged. And it occurred to me, there are some people who probably don't even realize what all things were going on in the Marvel's Ultimate Universe at that point, since you had things such as the Ultimate Spider-Man. And while this was an Ultimate titled show, you still had Ultimate Iron Man in his goofy suit, you still had movies such as the Ultimate Avengers movie, and shows such as the Superhero Squad and Avengers Assemble, which gave us this phenomenal scene of Hulk tackling the Thing over poker. He wanted all that smoke, as well as the live action going on around these points as well. Don't get me wrong, I still think that the Absolute Universe is way more unhinged, having Batman go up against this version of Bane or Killer Croc. Still, in the Ultimate Universe, you have Wolverine putting down a teenager over his mutant ability being too strong for it to be released to the public, and Magneto successfully nuking all of humanity. Again though, which universe is more unhinged? Would you rather be in a world that's ruled by Lex Luthor or Doctor Doom? And explain why. See, these two have already been in positions of high power before. Two dudes that are petty enough to destroy entire universes just because of that one guy they really dislike. Unlike President Luthor, though, who was willing to fuse with Brainiac just for the ability to go against Superman, and only ran for president because he knew it would get under Superman's skin, and put the people who he was president of in danger just to get his get back on Superman. Dr. Doom, who is the ruler of Latveria, is actively a good leader to the people of Latveria and treats them well. Everybody in Latveria gets universal health care, one of the most protected places on Earth because it's protected by Dr. Doom, and everybody in Latveria gets free Wi-Fi so long as they remember that the Wi-Fi password is just making fun of Reed Richards. And even though he's a villain everywhere else, Latverians think he's great. Petty or not, Doom's actually a good ruler. I'm 100% going with Doom. So here we have, is there anybody able to beat the one above all? Those of you who aren't sure who the one above all is, basically Judeo God of the Marvel Universe. And it actually has a pretty funny answer to it, and none of these people on this list are any of the three who actually do beat him. The first one up is Squirrel Girl, who has beaten the entire Marvel Universe and is called the unbeatable Squirrel Girl for a reason. Even in Squirrel Girl Beats Up the Marvel Universe, you see one of the Watchers pointing out, I am 100% sure that is the true Thanos that you had just beaten up, Squirrel Girl, and did so effortlessly, might I add. And Deadpool, who has beaten the one above all in Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, a series that went on with Deadpool beating everybody in the Marvel Universe not only twice, 3 times this guy goes up against the strongest people in Marvel, including the one above all, and wins. It doesn't matter if you're the Living Tribunal, Noel, Doctor Doom, unless you're Stan Lee, Deadpool, or Squirrel Girl, you don't beat him.